are very persistent, Mr. Sulu. The game has rules. You're ignoring them. I protest, and you come back. You didn't come back.
Now you're making sense.
I was getting bored. Of course, this isn't the time.
Any time's a good time.
I'm afraid I changed my mind again.
You take a lot of chances, Lieutenant.
So do you, mister. So do you.
She was bored and then she changed her mind. And that's Uhura. And this is Will. And this is Sci-Fi Guy. And you've just been listening to, I think, well, certainly one of the most memorable scenes, certainly for me, in all of the original series episode, Mira. I say it again, Mira. The alternate dimension, what we would call, I guess, the multiverse today, right? Everything's about, the other dimensions and the dark domains and dimensions in the multiverse, like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and Into the Spider-Verse and such. But this, of course, is Star Trek, and this is a tribute to Nichelle Nichols. Starting off with that incredible scene. She had many other incredible scenes and episodes, but that is probably my favorite moment in all of Star Trek for Uhura, with the evil Sulu. Now, tonight's episode is a tribute to the great Nichelle Nichols, who passed away. Just how much more can you say about one of the original cast members? Now we have William Shatner, George Takei, and Walter Koenig. Those are the last. Kirk, Sulu, and Chekhov. And we wish them well, but we're going to tribute Nichelle. And we're going to talk about her career other than Star Trek. Because everybody listening, certainly every Star Trek fan, knows, all too well the Star Trek years, the Star Trek movies and, appearances. So we're going to tribute and discuss Nichelle Nichols' career other than Star Trek. All right, now, even though we're going to emphasize and focus on Nichelle's career other than Star Trek, I think we should get this one out of the way. Now, many fans probably know this all too well, but it bears repeating. This is Nichelle Nichols' conversation and encounter with none other than Martin Luther King Jr. This is from the main wiki. Nichols was once tempted to leave the series. However, a conversation with Martin Luther King Jr. changed her mind. Towards the end of the first season, Nichols was given the opportunity to take a role on Broadway. She preferred the stage to the television studio, so she decided to take the role. Nichols went to Roddenberry's office, told him that she planned to leave, and handed him her resignation letter. Roddenberry tried to convince Nichols to stay, but to no avail. So he told her take the weekend off, and if she still felt she could leave, then he would give her his blessing. That weekend, Nichols attended a banquet that was being run by the NAACP, where she was informed that a fan really wanted to meet her. Quote, I thought it was a Trekkie, and so I said, sure. Excuse me. I looked across the room, and whoever the fan was had to wait because there was Dr. Martin Luther King walking towards me with this big grin on his face. He reached out to me and said, yes, Miss Nichols, I am your greatest fan. He said that Star Trek was the only show that he and his wife Coretta would allow their three children to stay up and watch. She told King about her plans to leave the series because she wanted to take a role that was tied to Broadway. I never got to tell him why because he said, you cannot. You cannot. For the first time on TV, we will be seen as we should be seen every day, as intelligent, quality, beautiful people who can sing, dance, and go to space, who are professors, lawyers. Dr. King Jr. went further, stating, if you leave, that door can be closed because your role is not a black role and it is not a female role. He can fill it with anybody, even an alien. So to think, Nichelle having that encounter, that meeting, and not knowing that it was Martin Luther King Jr. who was waiting in the wings to see her, and his, sort of orders to say, you cannot leave the series. There's no way that you will, you should be replaced. Now, Star Trek fans, knowing their cast, knowing the great actors and actresses of the show, should know that Nichelle Nichols was an incredible musician, an incredible singer. She released 2 music albums, Down to Earth, a collection of standards, released in 1967 during the original run of Trek, and then Out of This World, that was released in 91. It's more rock-oriented, and it's themed around Star Trek and space exploration. This is from the official wiki. As Uhura, Nichols sang songs on the Star Trek episode Charlie X in the Conscience of the King. And I remember when I first saw Charlie X, and watching the episode, and I guess when Charlie was sort of hanging around the crew with, I guess, Yeoman Rand, of course, Janice Rand, who he loved, and you see Uhura, and she starts making up a song, Charlie is our darling, our darling. Forgive me, Nichelle, for butchering the song there, but, and it was just such a fun song, and, she did it so, spontaneously, it seemed, right off the cuff, because she was, like, replacing the lyrics of the actual song. Charlie is our new darling, a new darling. Really good stuff. And so that's another facet to Nichelle's career and talent, was her great voice. And then, of course, they failed to mention it here, of course, in Star Trek V, she does that sort of feather dance and the song. And, of course, every actor or actress can be truly identified with a role, but they've done other movies. They've done, they've performed in other productions, other performances. Nichelle has a long list, including Doctor, You've Got to Be Kidding. That was a comedy. Truck Turner, of course, all the Star Trek movies. She played Cuba Gooding Jr.'s mom in Snow Dogs. Are We There Yet? Another comedy. And The Torturer, This Bitter Earth, The White Orchid, American Nightmares, and Unbelievable, which is on my watch list. That's a Star Trek parody. So we're back to Star Trek, of course. But I know Snow Dogs was a big hit. It was a really big box office hit, and it was really great to see Nichelle in that. And as far as other television goes, I'm pretty sure Nichelle and Gene Roddenberry met on The Lieutenant, and that's an American TV series created by Gene Roddenberry, and that was in 1963. And she's credited as one episode on that. Then she did episodes of Peyton Place, Tarzan. She did, of course, the animated series of Trek. She provided the voice for Uhura. Head of the Class, the sitcom in the 80s. She did 4 episodes of Gargoyles, which I guess Marina Sirtis and Jonathan Frakes did. That ran in the mid-late 90s. She did episodes of Spider-Man animated, a couple Futuramas, and she did a Simpsons. Oh, and a Scooby-Doo. And she was in a couple of the Star Trek fan films, Gods and Men and Renegades. And she's in, actually, Sharknado 5 Global Swarming, which came out in 2017. I thought they only made 3 or 4 of them. They made 5. Wow. Maybe they made 6. But I know the first one was... I saw some of the first one. Anyway, but that is her movie and TV resume there. Oh, and she did a couple video games, Star Trek video games, of course. And in terms of books, she's written 2. Her memoir as Beyond Uhura, that was published in 1994. And she did a novel with Margaret Wander Bonanno, Saturn's Child. So she was also an author. And what's great is her work with NASA. After Star Trek, she volunteered her time and did special projects for NASA. One was called Women in Motion, and that was to recruit minority and female personnel for the space agency. And one of her real gets was Dr. Sally Ride. And Ronald McNair and Judith Resnick. So it was great work. I remember seeing sort of like PSAs and stuff that she did for NASA. And they actually did a documentary, Women in Motion, about her work with NASA. And this is really interesting. I remember hearing about this years ago, that she wrote in her autobiography that she was involved romantically with Gene Roddenberry. It says she was involved with Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry for a few years in the 60s. She ended the affair well before Star Trek began, when she realized Roddenberry was also involved with her acquaintance Majel Hudek, known as Majel Barrett. Excuse me. And Hudek went on to, of course, marry Gene Roddenberry and became Majel Barrett Roddenberry. Excuse me, froggy here, frog time. But this is very poignant. When Roddenberry's health was fading, Nichols co-wrote a song for him entitled Gene, which she sang at his funeral. So there you have it. You have Nichelle Nichols. What a life! What a actress. Obviously back in the day with the original Star Trek, the supporting roles that went for, Chekhov, Sulu, Uhura, they didn't have as many, moments and, scenes, moments in the sun and scenes of epic quality. But certainly Mira Mira is that on the bridge with Sulu is just really incredible. She was great in Tribbles, how much she loved, the Tribbles. And, but I just go back that Mira Mira, that scene is awesome. She's like, you haven't played the game. You better watch it, mister. It's awesome. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you guys are subscribing. If not, you can do so. You can do a freebie. The free is great. Or you can do the paid people. We got some goodies. We got some exclusives. Freebies do not have. Either or, we love to hear from you. Please send in those messages, that feedback. And live long and prosper. We'll see you soon.